Hey Internet, I'm Chris, and this is a place on the internet where I talk about comics, movies, games, and things I'm generally passionate about. So, the MCU is doomed. What do I mean by that? By now, if you're clicking on this video, and probably by the thumbnail, you've heard the news that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Victor Von Doom. Not great. Now, if you were in the room where this was announced at San Diego Comic Con, the legendary Hall H, which Marvel has been known to conquer over the years, you're probably pretty excited. But as the news settled in, as the internet reacted, I think we're all in a place of, is this what we really wanted? And I get it. Marvel, Kevin Feige, Disney, they're all in a very weird spot. It may seem like they're back with Deadpool and Wolverine, which I just saw. It was a good movie, and audiences are reacting to it. It's a return to form in terms of financial success for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But if you watch the movie, for me, there were a lot of the issues with it tend to be like, hey, it seems like we're focusing a lot on the cameos, which I guess that's what people want these days. And Marvel responded to that by saying, hey, if you really like people to come back in the roles that they love, we've got news for you. But Downey's not coming back as Iron Man. He's coming back as a version of Victor Von Doom, or Doctor Doom. But if they pull this trick, to be honest, I don't think there's really a way they could bring another Doom in. It would make no sense after these two movies to really bring in Doom, because after you do Doomsday and Secret Wars, what story is there for a Doctor Doom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And it goes back to what I said in terms of Marvel is doomed. They're in a place where they are going back to all reliable. This confirms that there's really no direction when it comes to the multiverse saga. They're in a place where, and some of it's not their fault. Hey, Jonathan Majors does not know how to keep his hands to himself. They could not foresee that Chadwick Boseman would pass away, and I'm sure T'Challa and Black Panther had a big role to play in these two phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So a lot of this kind of chaos around the storytelling with these last two phases is not their fault. But when they revert to cheap gimmicks like bringing Robert Downey Jr. in as Doctor Doom, you get to a place where you're like, you're turning into exactly what Martin Scorsese said these films were. And he got a lot of shit for that. But now it seems like that's what it is. These movies are roller coasters. And listen, they could be crowd pleasers. Yes, you could turn your brain off for some of these things. But the further away we get from Endgame, the more it seems like, or the more it looks like, that those first 10 years of the MCU were a creative miracle. It is something that other studios have tried to replicate. It is something that Marvel themselves have tried to replicate, and they just can't. It's impossible. It is lightning in a bottle. It's just in this world with streamers and just sort of having to flood the world with content is just impossible to maintain that level of quality at such a high level for such a long period of time. And again, all the credit to Kevin Feige and the people that worked at Marvel Studios during that time, because they were able to create something that was incredibly financially successful. Also, creatively, created some really great stories and superhero movies that will stand the test of time. And again, people are still trying to replicate it. People are still trying to make their Guardians of the Galaxy. People are still trying to create their own version of the Avengers, where they have movies that ultimate in a big team up. But they just can't do it. And with this Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom news, it makes me less excited for Fantastic Four, which I thought was going to be something of a breath of fresh air. But now, so we have Pedro Pascal is going to be going up against Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. Who knows if that Doom is the Doom of that world or whatever. But I think that rivalry was something that could carry on for years in movies and could go into its own sort of saga in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now we're going to probably burn through that within 3 years, because next year you have Fantastic Four, 2026 you have Doomsday, the 2027 you have Secret Wars. And even with this announcement, it's kind of funny because they were able to ditch the whole Kang storyline just like that. And I would have liked them to recast, because with Loki season 2, it showed that there were potential with this character, and there was still, I think it was able to be salvaged, but again, not the best position to be in when the actor that you've positioned around, one, can't keep his hands to himself, and two, the stories are not hitting the way you had expected with audience members. And when it comes to Marvel, I'm at a place where, not that you need to know about my childhood, but there was a point when I was a kid when I used to eat pancakes every morning. I'd always ask my mom, make me pancakes. Then one day she made me pancakes and I felt like I was going to throw up. And that's where we're at with the MCU. There is just too much. And at this point, they're in a place where Star Wars is, where, hey, it may be time to take a cinematic break. Now, Disney will never let that happen. Marvel will probably never do that. But I think it might be time to give us a 2-3 year break of movies and maybe shift to telling stories on Disney Plus, or just taking a break overall, regroup, and focus on storytelling versus these gimmicks, cameos. Because once you do Secret Wars and once you pull that Robert Downey Jr. trick, hey, you've already done all 3 Spider-Mans. You've already brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. There's not much else there is to do. And Marvel has managed to, and part of this is the Disney Plus issue, is they've been able to run through 70 years of storytelling within 15 years. And it's not great because once you do Secret Wars, hey, we blew Secret Invasion. Who wants to see a Dark Avengers movie? There's not much else there is out there for them to tell and for people to get excited about. And that shows when they have to go to Robert Downey Jr. after winning an Oscar and be like, hey, can you come back? But you've already done the Iron Man thing. Please, let's get you as Doctor Doom. That's the only thing that's going to get people excited. And I think it will get maybe general audiences excited, but it is sort of telling that you grab someone who, I think when Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Iron Man, that was a new opportunity, someone you hadn't seen starring in a film in quite a bit. And I think Doom was the opportunity to maybe do that for someone else and allow people to, hey, why don't we usher in this new era of storytelling in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? But now it's going to be more of the member berries. And if you've watched Deadpool and Wolverine and saw how much of those moments are crowd pleasers, there's no doubt these movies will be successful, but you wonder at what cost. Because again, once you pull these moves, there's not much else you can do. So that is why I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doomed. Now, what do you think? Are you excited to see Robert Downey Jr. back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not as Iron Man, as Victor Von Doom? And honestly, there hasn't been a great Doom. He's been portrayed 3 times in live action and not great in any time. And Robert Downey Jr. is probably the best actor that's ever portrayed him. But maybe not so soon. Well, just let me know. Peace.